Oh, woe is me. Nobody understands my plight. Oh my gosh, who can be where I am right now? And you just don't have it as bad as I do. Constant whining or reality fact check? Or is this real? That's next on this episode of the Gratitude Journal podcast.
This is the Gratitude Journal podcast.
Greetings from a rather humid and stuffy basement lair. Yes, the air conditioning is working just fine, but that's the way it feels because it's just one of those days where the sun is shining bright, the sky is blue, there are no clouds to be seen for miles and miles, and it just feels, but basements can help, sort of demagnify. Is that a word? These things that sometimes are apparent right off the bat. So it does help. It's a sticky, kind of hazy, hot weekend here in Northeast Ohio. Greetings from the basement lair. My name is Matthew, and thank you for joining in for this, another episode of the Gratitude Journal podcast. The podcast that is designed and has been designed to help all of us, me included, because I am in dire need of this just as much as anybody, to find the things that we should be thankful for and to find new and different ways for gratitude to kind of play a role in what it is we do in our day-to-day existence. And I have lately been tasked with trying to find new ways to provide upkeep with the house and trying to get a couple of sort of subcontractor type people to come over and perform some tasks that I don't really have time to do, or probably better put, that I really don't want to do. And it's tough to find people who, A, will kind of show up, and B, fit inside the price range, and C, not laugh when you try to explain to them what it is you're trying to do, and they're thinking to themselves as they're nodding their head, you mean you can't do this yourself? You mean you're actually going to pay somebody to do this? That's kind of where I'm at. And in the spirit of downsizing too, just trying to get rid of stuff that really doesn't play a role in the future as I see it. Like, for instance, somebody came by yesterday based on a Facebook Marketplace ad that I had posted because I was selling our miter saw. And, years ago, we had need for a miter saw, I guess. And this is one of the sort of requisite tools that you should have in your case, in your chest, that, if you have to do a 45-degree slice on a 2x4, you should be able to do that because you have a miter saw. But, I keep moving it when I now use our sawhorse, to roast coffee in the garage. And that has taken, far more importance in my world than being able to operate a miter saw. And so I said to Donna, you know what? If we could just take everything we have in this garage and slim it down by like 70%, it would probably include all of the things that I really need. A hammer, a Phillips head screwdriver, some duct tape, a few nails and screws, here and there. But for the most part, a lot of this stuff could really kind of go. So I've been kind of downsizing. So somebody did come by yesterday and take care of the miter saw. So it created lots of openings for me to roast coffee now in the garage without being impeded by materials and tools that I will no longer use. Is there anything that I personally can learn from Donald Trump? I, at first glance, would probably say no, because I don't think it's a secret that I'm not a fan and haven't been a fan, nor will I vote for this person. So that's just me. You can do whatever you want to do. But, having said that, I do feel like it's my responsibility to be open to someone who I may not agree with, or in his case, vehemently disagree with, but I feel compelled to at least keep an open mind. And the other day, I was watching what seemed like a rally speech that had appeared on every single news channel. And a lot of times in the evening, when I'm preparing our dinner, we'll kind of rotate through a couple of channels just to get caught up on the day's events. Even though I've read the day's events in the morning, lots of things happen throughout the day. And so it didn't matter where we spun the dial, on our streaming setup. It just seemed like he was pretty much on everywhere. And what I noticed, and what I told Donna later in the evening, is that I noticed in particular that there's a lot of sort of victimization. Like, he really talks a lot about himself. I mean, almost exclusively. And he talks, or seems to speak at length, about, how he is kind of like a victim of the circumstances set up by the administration prior to him. And so that's neither here nor there. I don't really want to go into politics per se. I have lots of opinions, but I will say that this kind of playing the victim is something that, was in a way kind of a teaching moment for me, because I do feel in certain ways that this feeling like you are a victim gives you a certain amount of latitude to say things where you don't have to come to any kind of, logical conclusion about where you should be in regards to a particular problem. And he seems to do that a lot. And I got to thinking on my walk this morning that I, both at work and at home, have kind of fallen into this same trap, as it were, that I am kind of like a victim of these circumstances. And that because I am a victim, people can't really understand where I'm at. I can't derive the same amount of joy out of the each and every day occurrences that happen in people's lives, because I am going through something that, or we are going through something that not a lot of people have to go through. And while it's posh for me to say, hey, everybody has their own thing that they're dealing with. I get it. I'm no better or worse. I'm not special in regards to anybody else. There have been instances where I have felt almost a kind of like a desperation and like falling into a dark hole. And the other day at work, one of my friends, Mark, was there, and he was asking about Donna and how we were doing. And I was at the time kind of trolling through pictures of pieces of art on her website, because I had sort of told myself that I wanted to match, some of her stuff to get some new pieces out there, whether it's at the coffee shop where our 3-month run will end this weekend, or being involved maybe in a show of some sort, because, these things kind of fall on me now. And I thought, wow, there's quite literally hundreds of pieces of art that are basically sitting in a stack down here in a room that are up on the website that really need to be, matted correctly and, labeled and titled and priced. And these are kind of things that could open people's eyes to maybe adding a piece of art to their collection. Or even if it doesn't involve selling anything, it just opens the door to me having something to do, and so that I'm moving in the direction of showcasing more of her work. And so I was at work sort of trolling through these pictures, and I was sharing with Mark, look at how intricate, these designs are. And now, I feel so bad that, she is someone who doesn't really feel even comfortable, taking a magic marker and filling in a letter. I was making these sort of stencils for a sign that I was using at work. And I said, just take the magic marker and just trace inside the stencil so that it shows up all in black. That's all you need to do. And she, just seemed to be very uncertain of herself. And I was trying to explained to Mark the line of demarcation between what didn't seem too terribly long ago that, she was creating, these wonderful works of art, and, woe is me. And I became emotional, and, how can I derive joy out of everyday existence when I have this to deal with and we have this to deal with? And as I was doing my walk this morning, I thought, well, aren't you doing the same thing? Can't we all say that at some point we position our particular situation as light years above anybody else's particular situation, and thereby sort of robbing ourselves of the joy and details of everyday life? And I think that I have really spent a lot of time playing the victim, and I know that it needs to stop. Not that I really have any solution to this, but I think, as they like to say, being able to recognize something or notice something, I suppose, is maybe the first step in this. And I know that inherently, as I'm sure some of you may feel as well, at some point you have to cross over, this threshold of victimhood and be able to allow yourself the opportunity to experience these little everyday occurrences that it seems like everybody else is getting satisfaction and joy from, but I'm not, because I'm mired in all of this gunk, that I'm dealing with and we're dealing with. And I think, not that Donald Trump opened my eyes, but I kind of felt like, well, I would say to him, quit being such a victim and start, offering some solutions, or start, turning the tide and moving in another direction. And in the same way, I would almost kind of feel the same way about myself, that I need to take a lesson from this person and not be looked on as such a victim. And lately, a couple of days a week, sometimes when we don't go to the rec center in the evening, because I need to do like these arm exercises and some leg exercises, because I've been reading in, I know, AARP magazine, that, as we get older, our leg strength, lessens, and need to build that up. And I still feel, pretty strong, even though the lightheadedness still kind of takes its toll and seems to be a large part of my day. I feel the need to do that. So as Donna's kind of walking around in a circle, as she likes to say, I'm kind of go upstairs and do some of these exercises. But on the day that we don't go to the rec center, sometimes we'll just go for a walk. And sometimes we'll go to this same kind of park, or we call it the Freedom Trail. And it's basically a paved section that people bicycle on and walk and run. And some, there's a few rogue rollerbladers who I'm jealous of, which is a skill set I always wanted to be a part of and always wanted to do, but I don't think I'll ever do that. And we have kind of like run into this person, and his name is Jeff, and he has this dog, and this dog is beautiful. It's kind of an older dog, and he first spotted us on the Freedom Trail several weeks ago, because down further than where we walk, according to him, are these owls. And, he saw us and we were like, oh, what a beautiful dog. And he would say, hey, just see those? Oh, Lucas is the name of this dog. And he would say, did you see the owls? And, long story short, we've been sort of on the lookout for owls. And he showed me a picture of something that he took. He said, someone who has a good camera should be able to do this. And I said, well, I have a lot of good camera gear. I don't know if I have a lens quite, that would fit the bill to capture, a cool picture of an owl, but I certainly would like to give it a try. And so as we were walking back that day, Donna said, you should be carrying more of a camera with you. And I have my little Ricoh camera that I like, but it doesn't have any kind of zoom capability, and it wouldn't be right for that. But anyway, I digress. I think that, and we've seen this person on the trail several times. And at one point, we said our goodbyes and we were walking away, and he took the time with his dog to kind of jog, walk, run up to where we had parked because he said he spotted the owls in another place and he wanted to tell us about it. And as he was walking away, he said, "Isn't it great that we get to do this? Like we get to walk on this, beautiful trail and like we have such access, to these parks and he goes, heck, me and Lucas, we could come out here several times a day and do this." And he wished us good night. And I was driving home and I thought, he's right. I really never thought about how fortunate and lucky we are and how grateful that we should be that even though for the most part we live in a fairly crappy weather place, in America, like summers are amazing here. Like today, even though it's kind of stuffy and muggy, it's beautiful. It has been beautiful like for the last 2 days. And even though it's going to be hotter, the next couple of days are going to be equally as nice. And like when I tell people who live in other parts of the country, this is what Northeast Ohioans live for, is summer and early fall. I mean, the days can be absolutely perfect, and they're perfect for everything, whether you have to go out and trim shrubbery, as I know I have to do once I turn the microphone off today, or you're doing something like walking your favorite dog down a path looking for photos of owls. Quit being a victim and start enjoying the things that are automatically around you that you may not even know are there. Like I said, I don't even really know that I have an answer per se for how to be better other than just to scold myself and bang myself on the side of the head that, come on, a-hole, get out of your rut and start to, be appreciative and grateful for the spaces in this journey where you have a chance to, laugh and practice frivolity and just otherwise appreciate the things that come into your life. Like this person who seems like a nice guy. I don't know him really, but he's kind of funny, has a quick sense of humor. And it's funny, he kind of thought that Donna was like my aunt or something, and got that look on his face sometimes when I say to people, "Oh no, that's my wife," and they kind of go, there's that momentary like, "Oh crap, I shouldn't have said that," and but I thought it was kind of humorous, and I think Donna thought it was kind of funny too as we were driving away. But I mean, that's something to be grateful for and something to be appreciative for. Are these things that maybe come into your world that you may not realize as important at the time. And speaking of AARP, I get the magazine. I don't find a lot of it all that helpful, but they had this kind of sort of cartoon, almost like a comic book section where they made up involving an elderly woman who was concerned because she hadn't saved enough money and she was worried about retirement. And the short version of this long story is that, she had to appreciate the things that she already had, and she sometimes had to reward herself. And so I feel like it was almost like serendipity that I was kind of reading that comic book, piece and feeling a lot of those same things because, this is primary retirement time for a lot of people. And I can sometimes play the victim when it comes to that because I did not prepare very well. And, we don't have a lot of money in reserve. And, I'm trying to make up for lost ground. And I know that I'm not going to be able to do that. And so it's going to be a struggle. And so I've already in my head been trying to plot ahead, like, how can I lessen the blow of this now? Like, how can I prepare for this? And so sometimes I get mired in all this gunk as well. And I think in this comic book, she rewarded herself by taking her daughter to a Taylor Swift show. Now, I don't have money for Taylor Swift tickets, but I did set aside the money for Turnpike Troubadours tickets. And in less than 2 weeks, Don and I will be heading down to the West Virginia State Fair. And we will see for the first time Turnpike Troubadours, who we're really excited to see. We really like them. And, we haven't been to a concert per se outside of the free performances at the radio station yet. And I don't have a lot of expendable income to put towards concert tickets because they're expensive. But we kind of set aside money for this. And so that's going to be my little reward. So, victims unite. Don't be a victim. And I have to continually tell myself this, that other people's joy is not a downer for me. It's a celebration of the things that are going well for other people. And sometimes I can live vicariously through these other people who are experiencing all these great things. And it's incumbent on me to make space. And I think it's, it begs all of us to do that, to create areas where we're getting joy out of things that we may not get joy out of, like not everything is a vacation. Not everything is a Taylor Swift concert. Not everything is, a cross-country trip. Not everything is getting a job promotion. Those are big, large, looming, big, broad brushstrokes. And we get a lot of that, on Facebook and Twitter, and everybody's life appears to be perfect and without, without gunk, without gooiness. And, it can make us feel more inclined to be a victim. And so my goal going forward, I don't know how successful I'll be. I'm sure I'll tell you about it later in an episode, is to kind of slay the victimhoodness and try to be better on a day-to-day basis. So today, we're going to finish tree or shrub trimming and then maybe head out to the Hardesty Park Art Fair. It's going to be hot, I know. Maybe it won't be out there too long, but a time to kind of veg and chill before another work week begins. So here's to not being a victim, and here's to finding small ways to counteract the large brushstroke things that may not seem apparent in your life, but there are still, smaller things that can give us equally, the same amount of joy. It's seeing this great dog, named Lucas, and what seemed like a kind person who, taught us that day to kind of look for something that we normally would not see. So here's hoping you have a great rest of the week. And I thank you for downloading and listening to another episode of the Gratitude Journal podcast.